This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm Jess.
And today we have two guests with us. One is a scientist and a founder of KoR Skincare, and the other works within the world of social media and is the co-owner of KoR Skincare. Please welcome Charlotte and Hayley Vincent.
Yay! Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, jumping straight into things, what's KoR Skincare? Can you please tell our listeners what KoR Skincare is all about? How long has it been around? When did it begin? Take it away.
Yeah, so KoR Skincare, we make non-toxic, vegan, cruelty-free skincare products, and we launched last year in June, didn't we?
June, yeah.
During the pandemic.
That's great.
Brave.
Yeah, it was in the pipeline for a couple of years. So skincare takes years to sort of formulate, test, and perfect. And we put it on hold a couple of times, didn't we?
Yeah, we were supposed to launch in January, but then obviously with COVID and everything, it kind of took a hit. So we postponed it, and then we just thought, let's just launch in June. So it was 6 months after we wanted to, but it was definitely worth the wait, wasn't it?
Definitely.
I feel like with people not really going anywhere and not wearing as much makeup, I feel like I personally was focusing a lot more on my skincare and trying to look after the sort of base. So I think that's probably quite a good thing to launch during the pandemic.
It was in the pipeline for a while before the pandemic, so it probably did give it that extra push to help it along, because obviously everybody was at home, like you said, focusing on their skincare, and also just sat at home online shopping as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, some people got real trigger happy with that shopping. So I was like, that's probably coincided pretty well for you guys. Where does the name come from? KoR. What does that stand for?
It's a kind of a play on the word, like KoR as in CORE, because it was about our core values. So we're both very into like animal welfare. So obviously it's vegan and not tested on animals, and also non-toxic. So it was like the core values. So it's kind of a play on the word core.
Yeah, and also us wanting our products to be part of people's like core routine as well, because I think everyone has sort of core products that their go-to products, and we really wanted that to be part of it. But yeah, it's just a play on words, and obviously the letters, and we've got an amazing graphic designer as well who sort of put everything into like our vision. So yeah,
I love it.
KoR,
The way it looks, I think it's stunning.
Yeah.
You know, everything is it's so elegant and simple, but I think with the word KoR, like you said, about it being about skin, it's nice to have something that is stripped to the basics, to the core. I think it works beautifully.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you had sort of setbacks due to COVID. What other setbacks, if any, have you had from starting your own business? And do you have any advice for anyone who's starting up their own business about overcoming some issues that they might face?
Yeah, definitely. So I was the one that had the sort of original idea, and it kind of just happened. I don't really know how, but always using skincare products, spending a lot of money, and then finding out obviously some things that are in our everyday skincare products I wanted to make my own just for my personal use. And then people started using them, like friends and family, and I thought, oh, actually I could make this into a business. And someone really close to me at the time, I was talking to them and just sort of, sharing my ideas, and they said to me, oh, the market's too saturated, that will never work, stick to your day job.
Yeah.
Wow. Someone close to you saying that as well. Wow.
Yeah. Him? Oh, that's disgusting. Who says that?
I'm told to stick to her day job.
I didn't really respond or react. I'm the type of person where if someone tells me I can't do something,
stubborn, you got to do it.
I'll be quiet and I'll manifest an amazing empire.
Exactly. I'm going to silently be someone who works on it, and it just gives you an extra push. But I can imagine if people aren't as stubborn and feisty or strong-minded, it could really, really have a knockback on people wanting to pursue dreams.
Definitely.
And I just think, a message to anyone who wants to start up a business, whether it's you think it's, you know, a ridiculous idea or something you've always wanted to do, or if it just comes to you while you're washing your hair in the shower, just go for it. We've got goals and things that we put in place, but we just haven't put any pressure on ourselves, really. So that's the main knockback that I've had personally, and that was right at the beginning as well.
I think as well, like, because the way it kind of happened was you started making candles to begin with, just because you found out what was in normal candles.
Like Hayley said, I wanted to make candles because, again, there are some toxic ingredients in normal candles, and I was burning all the time.
I wasn't aware of that, actually.
So there's quite a lot of animal fats in them, and now if I use normal candles, I do find my eyes get a bit irritated, or you can cough. And if you look at the bottom of candles, they do say that it can cause irritation. So you want to look at more like soy or jojoba wax based candles. And I was making them with essential oils, and they smelled great for the first 10 minutes, and then they didn't smell of anything. So I looked online, and you have to formulate, so you have to stick to like a scientific formulation. And then I ended up coming across a course in natural skincare formulation, and it kind of all sort of rolled into that. So KoR started off with me making some candles, and then just having a passion for skincare anyway. And then we got you on board because I've got no clue about social media.
Sounds like a great team.
Well, see, this is the thing. So then you started obviously making the oils, and we were all using them, and we were like, oh, these are amazing. And then we were like, why don't we start to sell these?
Easier said than done.
You didn't have a website or anything. You had a Instagram, but not much on it. So I came on board, and I was like, I can just help you. I can make the website and obviously help you take some photos and stuff. And then it just kind of came to us. We were like, why don't we join teams and do this together? And we hadn't actually registered it as a business or anything. And we registered it as a business in the December, and then we launched in the June. So it was registered for a while before we launched. But so then now it is a perfect team, because Charlotte's obviously the brains behind all of the science and the formulation, but since starting and doing the social media, I've also got on board with the formulation, and we just bounce ideas off each other. But I think a big thing for me is obviously just going full circle back to the setbacks, was if we'd have looked at it as a whole when we started with all the legalities, all of the testing,
overwhelming.
Exactly, it is. And if we'd have looked at it as like a whole big picture, I don't think we'd be sat here, because it is overwhelming, and it is very much like a bit of a shock, and like, wow, can we really do all that? But I think it's a big thing to do. So instead of looking at the big end goal, is to do it in stages.
Chunks,
so if anyone is looking to start a business, I would recommend, instead of looking at the end goal where you want to be, is just take it step by step.
When you say about the legalities and the formulas and stuff like that, are you basing it on is this like a UK thing, or is this, because I know all countries have their own sort of, well, maybe not all, maybe I'm not I know that America does not have the same rules and regulations that I think Europe, is it Europe or is it the UK? I can't remember.
Yeah, so we were actually talking about this just before. In part of the course that I done, it made me aware of the legalities. So luckily for us, we set up when we were obviously part of Europe and Brexit hadn't happened. And they actually have the strictest rules. So you have to have your products tested by a lab. You have to have like stability testing. You have to work to like lab specific rules. So you have to work aseptically. You have to have manufacturing protocols in place.
Wow.
Everything has to go through testing, whether it's classed as non-toxic or vegan, or, you know, if it's sort of your just general everyday products. Everything has to go through testing, and you have to have safety reports. And
how do you guarantee then that your product isn't being tested, like you said, it was cruelty free? How do you then ensure that that's not happening if you're having to send it to a lab? Do you get to pick which lab it's going to? How does that work?
So they'll just run tests on sort of like analyzers and machines, but because we don't have water in our products, we send them our formulation, and we don't necessarily have to send the actual product to the lab. We send them all of the details, all of the paperwork with it, because we have anhydrous products, like I said, meaning they don't contain water, because as soon as you start incorporating water, there's bacteria and microbes. Everything that we have is water free, which is why our mask is a powder. So with that, you would have to send your product to the lab, and they wouldn't test it on animals or test it on a person. They would literally run it on an analyzer or spread it on a plate to see how many microbes would grow. And
interesting.
So it's a long process, and the second you start adding water to it, I think you have to test for like 2 or 3 years each product.
Wow.
And batches have to be updated. So you wouldn't think. We didn't know at the beginning.
But we do sell in the UK, basically the whole of Europe and the US. So we have sold, we've sold quite a few in the US. But we are looking to go to like Australia, Canada, New Zealand. But it's a bit of a different like protocol that we have to do for that, and also to get it over there is a lot for shipping. So we'll have to think about like manufacturers or distributors to do that. So the main differences that you'll find is labels. So labeling across the UK, even Europe now that we've obviously come away from Europe, the US, Canada, Australia, they all require different labeling, which is a huge cost for us because we make things in small batches. It's just us two that do the labeling.
Really?
Oh, we do everything. We make products, we bottle them, we batch them, we label them, we package them up, send them out. So it is just the two of us. So even down to coming up with the new products, formulating them, the trial and error, like bottling, labeling, sending them out, customer service.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
And we also have full-time jobs as well on the side of it, so it is.
This isn't your full-time thing.
No, we have 9 to 5.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Hats off to you. That's incredible.
The goal is to eventually, in 5 to 10 years time, KoR will be the main source of income for both of us, but at the moment, as it's just starting up, we are juggling it alongside full-time jobs, and we've just bought a house as well, so it's a lot.
Wow. Obviously you said, Charlotte, that you saw this course for the skincare. Was there any other inspiration behind it? Have you had your own skin journeys yourself?
Yeah, definitely. And I think aside from the skin journey, probably something that I should mention is that working in science, I've found myself in situations where I have seen sort of everyday products being made, and it was at that moment that I noticed how many sort of toxic and harmful ingredients were being added into these products. And it wasn't until then that my eyes were open to the world of toxic ingredients. And for my own skincare journey, when I was about 18, 19, I had severe acne. I'd always suffered sort of during my teenage years with bad skin, spots, and I was put on sort of like antibiotic tablets. But it was when I actually went over to working in science. I'm a trained forensic scientist, so I was in labs all day with face masks on, which we're all used to now, all day, from early hours in the morning till the evening, face mask. I just broke out horrendously. I was put on, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Roaccutane. And it's so harmful. And at the time, it was me and my mum went to see a doctor because it was really getting me down. I still have scarring from it now, but I wanted to take anything that I could to get rid of these spots because I was so insecure. And it's such a strong drug that I had to have a pregnancy test every month. Because if you fall pregnant, the baby could be born with birth defects. People can have severe depression on these tablets. So it's a huge decision to make. It can give you sort of knock-on health effects later on in life as well. So that's my journey. I had really, really bad acne, and I now can't wear foundation because the second I do, I do break out. So it was then that I sort of looked into using more natural products. I'd worked in a salon and beauty therapy room that was sort of more the natural product range. So that's what I was used to. But it just led me to the formulation side. I remember doing the skincare formulation course, and there was like a whole science unit, and I was like, oh well, I already know this, but yeah, it was really nice to see the two worlds that I've been involved in. So,
yeah, it's led to this.
yes.
What about you, Hayley? Have you had your own sort of skincare journey as such?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at school, I also suffered from some acne, and I got put on antibiotics as well. Not the same as you, but an antibiotic, and that did clear it up. But I was recently living in Bali for the last 3 years, and that had a big effect on my skin because of the sun, and also because it's quite polluted there. So I was driving around on my scooter, and I'd get home and my face would literally just be black, and I could really tell that it had taken an effect on my skin. So that's why we've got a face mask which really like draws all of that out, and that kind of was like one of the reasons why I kind of got on board with it as well. But recently I have also had a bit of an effect on my skin. I came off the contraceptive pill, and it's just completely broken me out to the point where I had to go back on it. So I am actually dealing with another case of bad skin. I've got foundation on today, so you can't really see it. But that's also kind of led us to come up with a new range that we want to include in our skincare product, which is like an acne range of like
that's like what that. I wanted to ask you, when you decided, okay, I want to make a skincare line and I want it to be natural, all these things, did you have in mind the actual products that you wanted to make? So you have rejuvenation, how do you say it?
Rejuvenation oil.
You have an oil, you have a mask, you have a selection of products. Were they already in the back of your mind, like, yep, that's what I want to make? Or did it sort of come organically, like the way that you decided what ingredients were going to be put in? How did you come to the products that you have now?
Yeah, so it was just really organically, and it was, looking at the products that quite personal and selfish, to be honest with you, at the beginning. So, it was, what do I want to use? I want my skin to be really hydrated, and I also love using face masks. So those were the two products that, we focused on. And then we've obviously got bath salts. We came up with that idea in the winter, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just because we found that we were having more baths, and bubble bath is great, but it does dry your skin out a bit, and we wanted the detoxifying effects from the salt as well. Yeah. And now obviously, with you having your sort of breakouts, we found that you using tea tree has really helped. So it just comes organically, and that's what I say, like, not putting pressure on things to be like, oh, we're gonna have, I mean, we do have ideas, but it just does come organically.
You were speaking about things that you would look for in products, so like tea tree to treat acne. Can you tell us what things we should be looking out for in products that we shouldn't be using and that are particularly toxic?
So there is a lot. I mean, one thing that we pride ourselves on is our oil. Well, all of our products are fragrance-free or artificial fragrance-free. There'll be natural fragrances from like the oils, or when you're using the bath salts, the petals and things like that. But if you see on a product it says like artificial fragrances, people can put that, and then that covers hundreds of other ingredients that could be in that product.
Right.
So within fragrances, there could be 100, 200 other ingredients, and they only have to list it as a fragrance.
The one word could cover a whole load of things.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's quite scary.
It's so scary. It is. And there's things like parabens, and they're sort of like the normal preservatives that are used, and they mimic estrogen, and they have been linked to breast cancer.
Right.
There's also formaldehyde as well, which is carcinogenic, but these often aren't listed as their names. They're often hidden. And things like formaldehyde, working in a lab, that's things that I would come across in a lab, and I'd be fully PPE'd up and
just using it on a day-to-day.
It's fine, and obviously they're not going to be huge amounts, but it's small amounts. There are a lot of toxic ingredients, obviously I can't list them all now, but I think it's really important for people to start looking at the labels of products. It's very difficult to go like 100% natural, 100% toxic free. But I think if we're constantly putting this stuff on our skin, our hair, dry shampoo, you spray it, it's all over your skin, and this goes straight into our bloodstream. And it's just about sort of making yourself aware. So there's so many good websites out there, and we do our Ingredients Mondays, and we've been hoping to do sort of more awareness around the toxic ingredients that you can find.
I was going to ask, is that something that you're going to start to sort of maybe focus on more? Because I think obviously with the name being KoR, about your core beliefs and everything, I think that would be something really useful for a lot of people, especially people who are consumers of your product. I think if they're being made aware constantly of the things to avoid, I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's good to know that obviously, because the products are 100% natural, sometimes when we make different batches, they do kind of differ slightly in colour or in smells because of the different batches of the ingredients that we use, because they don't have any preservatives and anything like that. One batch could be slightly darker than the other. That's also just a good way to know that the product is 100% natural. So yeah, a big thing for us is that our products are non-toxic and they're not tested on animals. So that's what we pride ourselves on. Our products aren't cheap, but they're not expensive. But we think, you know, for what they are and the products, the ingredients that they have in them, like, it is so worth just spending that little bit more.
I agree
completely.
I completely agree. I've always been someone who will sort of buy cheap makeup or cheap things like this, but when it comes to skincare, I don't mind spending more, because I'm like, no, this is my skin, this is what's looking after. And to any one listening at the moment, when we've checked, I mean, we recently went on your website and we saw that everything had sold out, other than when this morning we looked and we're like, oh, they've got something else, and because we wanted to buy something. But I looked at the price and I thought, this is a reasonable price for a vegan, cruelty-free, natural skincare product. They were very reasonably priced, so definitely everyone listening, go and check it out if things are in stock, hopefully soon. I wanted to ask more as well about how you start from scratch, I guess, with everything. Do you sort of have to say, right, I want to make an oil, and then you just look at every single oil that's out there? How do you start with something like that without giving everything away and giving away
Do you know what, when it was the rejuvenation oil, I just did a deep dive into the different types of oils. So you can have like the carrier oils, the more sort of specialized oils, and I put it in a spreadsheet, and I just sort of like done hydration, anti-aging, acne, and then I knew that I wanted sort of a bit of an all-rounder, kind of one of the ones that you can use every day. And yeah, just done it that way. There was a lot of trial and error.
There were some that smelled so bad.
I think one of my friends was like, it smells like hay.
I think now we have like enough knowledge to know what kind of oil we want for what the product to achieve. So like, for example, if like with the tea tree, we know we want to include that with our acne range and stuff like that. So it is, I think, the more you kind of look into it and know, and trial and error, you get to know what oils work for what. But I think it's just trial and error, really.
And I think that's a really important thing to sort of make people aware of, is that it's not just something that you go, oh, I'm going to add this, and this, and it be done in a couple of months. You know, the rejuvenation oil and the mask took, so the Pure and Bright mask, I think they took about a year and a half, almost 2 years to perfect, you know, get other people's opinion, because I might love it, Hayley might love it, but if no one else likes it, it's not going to.
I was going to say, it's great that your friend said it smelled like hay. Like, that's the kind of honesty you need.
Exactly. Yeah,
you need honest people around you.
Yeah. It's also like knowing the amount to put in. So like before you showed me about it, I thought it was just like you said, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but you have to make sure that the total amount of oil that you're putting in equals to 100%. So if you're like, oh, okay, actually I want a bit less of this oil, you have to make sure that the whole formulation still equals that 100%, which I never knew about, because I was in Bali when we first kind of launched, and then when I came back, I said to you, I was like, right, I want to be involved in the formulating and the making of the products. And the first time I did it, I was like, wow, I had no idea that it was like this, and it kind of blew me away, really, how much goes into making a product. From the outside, it kind of would seem, and it's not stupid to think that it's just like, oh, okay, we just want to make an oil, just chuck a bit of this, chuck a bit of that, but there's so much that goes into it.
It's the cleaning beforehand. We make sure we wear lab coats, gloves, hair tied up, you know, everything has to be super clean. It's been all of our glassware has been cleaned. We make sure our balances that we're, the scales that we're using, we have to make sure that those are reading correct. We have to record all of the information. So
this is making me think of Breaking Bad.
That's it. Yeah, our dad says that.
Yes.
Yeah, but we never planned on starting a business. Obviously, we're sisters, we live together, and now we've got a business together. It was never something that we sat down and said, right, we're going to start a business. It was just something that happened, and it's kind of snowballed into something amazing. Yeah.
I was just going to ask as well, how is that for you? Obviously, being sisters, I'm sure this is great, but they also, I mean, I don't agree with this saying, but they often say don't work with your friends and family. How are you finding it?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both, we get on really well, and I think as a family we all do anyway, and we're so honest and we don't take things personally. I can't speak for everyone else who would work with siblings, but if you don't agree with something that I'm not doing or vice versa, we're not afraid to put each other up on it. And
but we also, what I lack, you pick up, and vice versa. So I think it's not like we're two scientists trying to put both of our opinions in. We just bounce off of each other, and I kind of look after the more of the like website. As much as I do help with the formulating, it's more like I have my kind of roles in the business,
Right.
So we do work really well.
Definitely. Although the bath salts were pretty much just you, which
It
is
was,
great. I'll let you do these.
That's exciting. Like, you've learned new skills from each other as well.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, we have actually. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I remember where the first time Hayley was like, right, we're going to launch, obviously, and I want you to do a video. I was like, it's going to go on social media. My Instagram account is private. The only people in there that I know are the people that I went to school with, college with, friends, family. And Hayley's like, yeah, now you're going to speak to a lot of people. I was like, oh my gosh. So it's those skills, but also, the big wide world of the internet and Instagram and things like that.
I mean, it clearly must work for you because you both just suddenly moved in together.
Yeah, that just kind of happened. We both had big life changes, and we thought, why don't we take advantage of this? So we moved in. So it has had an effect on KoR a little bit, because we had to put a bit of a hold on it. As you've seen on the website, we have sold out, and because we make the batches at home, we were like, we can't make more while we're moving.
Definitely not, especially with all of the precautions you've said that you have to put in place. I'm just thinking, right, no orders can arrive during the day. Like, postman cannot knock at the door today. Like, you just need like complete silence ready to sort of work. So I think it makes sense that you're sort of having to put it on pause for the moment. So Hayley, you have actually had quite a big presence on social media, and you, as you said previously, that you lived in Bali, and you've traveled a lot. It's evident that you love to travel. How have you found that since the pandemic? Travel's been pretty much put on hold. How did you find coming back to the UK and sort of having to settle down, I guess?
Yeah, so I've been really lucky, and I've been traveling since I was 19. I'm 25 now, and
wow.
It started off as I got kind of like into the whole backpacking, and then I worked in a travel agent and got moved to the office in Wellington, and then I kind of grew an online presence just by accident. Again, it's just something that happened. I never planned on being like, oh, I want to be big or have a presence on Instagram or anything like that. And then I moved to Bali. I've always been kind of like an adventurer and a traveller. So for the last couple of years, like I said, I was living in Bali, travelling around. And then in July time, I decided to move back home because obviously travel kind of got paused. I was a bit worried coming back because I've worked for myself for quite a few years, and obviously being abroad, coming back to England, I was worried that I wouldn't settle or kind of find my way. But I think everything has just happened how it should. When I came back, I was just kind of like focusing on KoR, and I didn't have another job then. But then in January, we decided that we wanted to buy a house. So I looked for a full-time job that could help with the mortgage. And I found one pretty quickly, which was really good. 6 months ago, if I'd looked forward and been like, in April, you're going to be living in a house with Charlotte, with a full-time job alongside KoR, and you're really happy, I wouldn't have believed it. But I can honestly say I'm the happiest now that I have ever been, and it just feels like this.
So lovely.
Yeah, so right. Thank
No,
you.
that's lovely. And I mean, it must have been quite hard actually, even when you were abroad and starting KoR, because Charlotte's in the UK, you're in Bali. For anyone who doesn't know where Bali is, it's not near the UK. Not at all. I've been to Bali and it was a few flights, so you know it's not close. So how hard was that when you were starting these ideas to sort of try and communicate with one another? I know we're in the 21st century, so it's not like we don't have technology to communicate, but that's still time differences. There's still, you know, other things that are involved.
Yeah, you can't physically kind of see the products and
Well, I came home Christmas time and just before we were supposed to launch.
Was this 2019?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
So I came home for Christmas, and obviously we really focused then while I was at home, and I took loads of products back to Bali with me to give to my friends for them to try and
Right.
give feedback as well. And then it was kind of just FaceTime. I would do stuff in the daytime, and then in the evening that's when Charlotte would wake up, because obviously Bali was ahead.
So basically KoR constantly had 24-hour operation.
Yeah, I think, like you said, time difference. I think that was the main thing. You kind of think, oh, it's fine because in the morning, then you've got the evening. But again, I had a 9 to 5. I still, you know, doing this job that I'm doing 9 to 5, and it's, you can't take a side step away from that, because that is my focus, obviously, income at the moment. But we managed it. The launch was really successful but stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We launched 1st of June, and obviously I was in Bali still and you were here. We obviously told everybody it was going to be then, and I pressed the launch button. I went out for dinner, came back, and we had loads of orders already, which was amazing. But that was also one of the main reasons as to why I decided to come home, because I was living in Bali and all of my jobs had been cancelled, because I was working at the time for a lot of like tourism boards, but obviously with travel being cancelled, I wasn't really progressing anywhere, and I just thought maybe this is the next stage of my life, and if I'm going to do it, I need to do it 100%. So I decided to move back home, and since then it's just rocketed, really, hasn't it?
It's like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like post-pandemic that travel would be something that you would get back into, maybe not to the capacity that you were doing it before, but again with work? Or do you think that that side of life, or that part of your life, is now closed for now, or at least in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the next year or so, since obviously buying the house and getting KoR to a level that we want it, I will hold off on the travel. But I think a big goal of mine, and also yours as well, is we do want to move to Australia and live there full time. So it would be a case of also looking to see how we could move KoR to Australia before we do that. But that's probably like a 3 to 5 year goal of mine.
Amazing. Do you also find that because of your big sort of social media presence, or especially on Instagram, like you have a big following, did that help with promoting KoR?
Yeah, definitely it did, because I have a lot of followers that have followed me for a long time, and I am real on there. I never promote anything that I don't agree with, so obviously
I can't stand it when that's pet peeves of mine, is because I think when you are someone, I don't think that you necessarily are responsible. I don't think you've signed up for all these things that a lot of people sort of say, that people and big celebrities and all that it's their responsibility, they've signed up for this. And I'm like, no, they haven't. But if you are in a public light of some form, or you do have a large audience, I want to stay away from the word responsible, but it's kind of stupid if you are starting to sort of promote things that you don't or wouldn't use yourself. I just think that's weird. And
definitely. And I think that's, so it also helps because I obviously talk about it, but I also have given products to my friends that also have a big following. I said to them, I was like, use it. I don't want you to talk about it until you've used it, because I want you to give your honest feedback to your followers. And I have one friend in particular, she's American, and she's used it since the beginning. It's my friend Kelsey, and she's used it from the very beginning, and she loves it so much, and she talks about it so organically and with so much love that one, it makes me really proud, but two, I know that's, you know, with how she's talking about it, her followers know that she's been genuine. So it definitely has helped having friends that have a following, and also myself having the following.
We've also seen amazingly that you're in magazines as well already, as in KoR Skin, and is it Vanity and Good Homes?
Mm-hmm.
How did that all happen? How did that feel to have your product in publications like that?
I just got home, and we weren't living in the same house at that time. I was living with my parents and Charlotte was living with her friend, and I was just sat on my laptop, and I just got this we got this email, and it said Vanity Fair, and it was the lady that did the publishing and the advertising in Vanity Fair, and she emailed us asking us if we could be featured in it. And it was crazy. I remember I rang Charlotte and I was like, have you seen the email? And it was something that we never thought would happen so soon. It was on it was our goals, wasn't it, to be in a magazine?
Yeah. So obviously, like you do with any business, we were like, okay, what would we like to achieve? And being featured in magazines and a podcast was on. And we're like, wow, so thank you for making that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. You're putting us on the same level as
Vanity thanks Fair. For
that. Thank you.
But you know, it's those sort of things where you kind of just go, oh wow, you know, we didn't even launch that long ago.
No.
But you sort of made all of that happen. Obviously, it's all to do with the social media presence, because that's how they found us.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in charge of all of like the photos,
all of that
stories.
Side.
So
but yeah, it was amazing to see our products in Vanity Fair, especially. As soon as it came out, we ran to Marks and Spencer's and got it, and we would just open it straight away. And it was a pinch me moment, really.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we've been really lucky that since we launched, we've had like a steady flow of orders, except from when we've obviously done sales like Black Friday. That was crazy, and we sold a lot more than we thought we would. So we have been so lucky to have constant orders, and we've also got some customers that are reoccurring. We've got quite a few that have ordered loads. Loyal customers that which again makes us really happy and proud. They're customers that we don't know. There's some in like the Netherlands, like all over Europe. But yeah, so to see our products in Vanity Fair and Good Homes as well, that was a full page ad, which was cool.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you open it and you go, oh my gosh, like
that's us.
that's our product, and it's you just can't believe it. Because I suppose you have these goals, but for them to then materialize and to actually happen. We know that we need to take it in, because we're kind of like, okay, great, that's done. What's next?
We're very good at just being like, okay, and we are very blasé. We like that, just with everything, just like, okay, that's happened. What's next? But yeah, I don't know. It is crazy to see that. We never thought that we would be in like a magazine. I think it was like 3 months in, and
especially Vanity Fair
as
well.
So.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, not bad.
I know that not everyone starting a business is necessarily going to have the same sort of milestones so quickly, but I think the thing that I'm loving most about speaking to you both about this is how organic everything is. Like everything that you've said, it's just fallen just so naturally into place, and I think that's really lovely. And I think if anything, that might have manifested some of the success for you. If anything, it at least sounds it to me. I think it's brilliant. Would you mind sort of telling us just a little bit about each of the products?
So the rejuvenation oil is made up of 16 oils, so like carrier oils or more specialist oils, but one of our key ingredients in that is a powder, and it's coenzyme Q10. So with that, it helps, it's high in antioxidants, helps fight against free radicals that can be caused by sun damage, that could eventually lead to cancer. So a lot of nourishing ingredients in that one. You can use that morning and night. It's quite, leaves your face looking really glowy, because some of the oils are quite orangey in colour. You can put it on, and once it's sunk in, it just leaves you with a really, really nice glow.
And one of the main positive feedbacks we have from the oil is that it's not, this sounds really silly, but it's not really oily. So you know when sometimes you have,
I know what you mean, yeah.
It just leaves your skin like feeling quite greasy or
heavy.
Thick and heavy. Yeah. With the rejuvenation oil, it's really light, and within a couple of minutes it's soaked in and it leaves you looking really glowy. So that's one of the main positive feedback we've had is that it's not heavy and it's really light. So
yeah, and it sort of just melts into the skin, and it's a really good base for foundation as well, if you use foundation. And then we have the Pure and Bright mask. So I mentioned earlier that it's powder form, because obviously we don't use any water,
Right.
but you do have to mix it with water yourself. That's got charcoal in it, so black charcoal, and that helps draw out impurities, as Hayley was saying, with the pollution. Things like lemon peel powder to help with brightening and tightening. It's an exfoliating one as well. So you literally pop like a teaspoon into a bowl, mix that with like a teaspoon or two of water to your consistency, pop it on after you've cleansed, and then it will set, and then you can scrub it off, and it's really nice to use the oil after. So those work really, really well together. And then we've got
and then we've got the bath salts.
salts.
So we've got a lavender and a rose petal bath salts. One of the main ingredients is coconut milk powder, and that is because, obviously, as Charlotte was saying, when you have baths, sometimes you use bubble bath, it can leave your skin quite dry, but with the coconut milk powder, it leaves your skin really moisturized. And then also the salts are detoxifying, so kind of draws out any toxins while you're laying there. And obviously the smells from the lavender and the rose just makes for a really nice relaxing bath. We have another sister, and she absolutely loves baths and bath salts, so I think she was very happy that we released those. And then we have a raspberry lip scrub. So it's an exfoliating raspberry lip scrub, and we also want to make a lip balm as well.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love lip products. I love like scrubs and balms. Oh, this is exciting.
I wanted to ask you, Charlotte, from like a scientific point of view, because I'm someone who will invest a bit more into skincare. I use Charlotte Tilbury skincare at the moment. Is it a fad, all this kind of age-defying skincare stuff? Because I'm a mum now, and I feel like I'm aging. My skin is aging from the lack of sleep and everything. So what do you recommend? Or is it more preventative sort of measures we need to be doing?
I think it just depends on the brand. Obviously, if you're making claims, so for us, we haven't said on our products, oh, it is age defying, or it reduces the signs of wrinkles, because you have to have scientific information and research to back that up. It has to have gone through testing, trials, and you have to have that research to back it up. So if you're finding that they are sort of clinically studied and the trials have been done, then absolutely you can say that there is some truth in that. Again, it all depends on the brand. I would definitely say look into the labels, look into the ingredients that are going into it. But if you're looking for things like age defying, the coenzyme Q10s are really good, but also just something that's really moisturizing.
Sunscreen.
Yes, SPF. Everyone talks about that, don't they? Yeah.
I lived in Bali. I was stupid. I never used to wear sunscreen. Like,
what, in Bali?
No, towards the end, yeah. So when I first moved, I didn't really wear sunscreen that much, because whenever I did, I would always break out in spots. So I was like, do I have a breakout, or do I want to just not wear sunscreen? So since going into the skincare journey, Charlotte has taught me wear sunscreen, even if it's not sunny out. Just put sunscreen on. That, like, include that in your skincare routine, but find a good one.
I would say it's quite hard with obviously sun cream, and SPF. There's going to be some chemicals in it. Some of the oils that we have in our rejuvenation oil, they are natural. They have natural SPF, but it's like 4 or 5, and we don't have the research to back that up, so we can't sell it as having that in it. But it's just the oils are known to have SPF.
I feel like with the SPF thing, not to generalize, but at the same time, kinda, we live in the UK. The sort of sunscreen stuff that I find when I'm like in America or back in New Zealand or whatever, it's so different, and it's everywhere because you need it. So you get a whole variety of stuff. You get stuff that is non-harmful to like corals and the sea, things like that. You come here and I'm sort of like, I'm not going to name all the brands, but you get kind of basic ones that literally are just for like slapping on and lathering up, but it doesn't do the skincare side of things, and it doesn't do the environmental factors. So I feel like there's a gap in the market right now that I feel like that would work in the UK, because people don't realize they need to wear SPF even when it's cloudy, sort of thing, like even on your hands, to stop it from aging.
Definitely. And just finding what works for you, definitely researching the brand as well, because there's a lot of brands that do tests on animals that would be quite hush-hush about it, or that do have those harmful ingredients. And the general rule is, if you can't read it and it's, you know, a 15-letter word, it's not good for your skin.
Love that. I'm still baffled by what you said about that fragrance. What was it? The wording on the label?
Artificial fragrancing, or if it has fragrance, then like a little asterisk, you kind of know
they're hiding something.
Well, and also if you're using products that are really floral and they're not using essential oils for the fragrance, you can more than likely assume that they are going to be artificial fragrances, which is why, you know, when you do get the sun creams and they smell like you're in a tropical Caribbean island, that's fragrance.
Yeah, that's not natural.
No.
Yeah, we have had some feedback on the oil because it smells quite
earthy, natural.
It smells quite earthy, natural, but people like it. But if people are looking for a fragranced oil, or if they are so used to buying an oil that smells like roses or smells like something, and then they go to that, it can be a bit of a shock, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure. But that is just because it's natural products aren't used as much, and if they're so used to wearing a floral oil, then it's going to be a big shock, the change in the smell.
It's kind of like Charlotte said at the beginning, it's like having your eyes open to what's actually real and what's not, isn't it? I think if people had the cotton removed from their eyes and they're like, oh, okay, so this is actually what's good for you, I won't mind the smell so much, or you sort of adapt to it. So yeah, I think people open their eyes a bit more.
It's mind-blowing, it really is.
But like you said, it's just like not knowing. So like if more people knew that that's what they were putting on their skin, then they wouldn't do that, I hope. Yeah. And I think really appreciate your transparency in what's in your products, because that builds that trust, and then people are way more likely to spend their money on your products than something else if you know they've got that kind of connection, I guess. That's great. So you've already achieved so much in such a short space of time. What are your plans for the future?
We have actually been entered into some awards, haven't we?
We've
entered into the Free From Awards, but there's some really good other contestants in there. So obviously we don't know how that's going to pan out. They released the winner in June, I think.
Yeah. So it would be near our one.
Fingers crossed for you.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
If not, it's still good to have been like accepted into the awards.
You're still nominated, right? Nominated. Whack that everywhere.
Yeah, so that's good. That would be something that's obviously a milestone for us. I think we also eventually want to sell in stores, not just like your normal supermarket or Boots or something like that, but we want to be in those kind of more higher quality stores. And then we've been contacted by a few like beauty boxes and stuff like that, which would be good to get into.
Online shops as well. So yeah, I think the next thing will be like the beauty boxes and the online shops, and then eventually be in some retailers. But everything's online now, isn't it?
And I was about to ask you, would you ever like to have your own physical store, like a KoR Skin store?
I personally would love it.
Like a little boutique-y store. Probably not something that had like a big, like loads of
not a chain.
But just one kind of flagship store would be lovely to have like all of our products. But obviously, like you said, everything is mostly online.
And because it's just Hayley and I, at the moment we are making stuff obviously in the kitchen once we've cleaned, but we're hoping to, the house that we bought, we've got like an outhouse, and we're hoping to make that into our sort of lab. Our KoR Skincare lab. And for me, I see us eventually employing people to help us make the products, because it is just us two. Like I said, we make the products, bottle them, package them.
That's a lot of work.
We love it, we do, but as we are growing, it will become quite much impossible for us to fulfill ourselves. So that would be great for us to have our own little hub.
But I think in like 5 years' time, we want to have got to that point where we've got a big range of products and we've got employees, and it's got to that stage where we can obviously afford to pay people to help and be in the KoR Skincare company. We're both very positive, and we're both very good at like manifesting things. So I think that
clearly
Don't put pressure on yourself. Just go with it, and it will tend to just work out as long as you're putting the time and effort into it. And go with it. No pressure. No expectations. What happens?
I really, really hope all the best comes to you both, because I just think it's brilliant. I love how, like Jess said, how transparent you are about it all, how clean this is, and I just love it. I think it's brilliant. So congratulations to you both, and wishing you all the best. Our last question that we like to ask all of our guests is, what makes up your circle? So if you were a circle, what would your circle be made up of?
I'll let you go first.
Positivity, manifestation, thinking you can and you will, and also just surrounding yourself with people that bring you up instead of trying to pull you down, who clap on the way as well as at the top, and just fill yourself and your life with positivity, and just tell yourself what you're grateful for, and that will bring you your circle in life.
Love that. What about you, Charlotte?
I think being okay with change. I think adapting to change and knowing that, if you go with the flow of life, that it will all work out. And I know that might sound really cliche, but
no, not at all.
Change is something that we resist naturally as humans. So adapting to change.
I hate change, but yeah.
But honesty and transparency, definitely. And I think we're both very honest people anyway, but that's something that we do like to reflect within KoR.
We haven't always been honest and stuff like that. We kind of been brought up to kind of just go along with things, and if you don't agree with something, just kind of just but in the last couple of years we've both been through a lot that we've learned to actually set those boundaries, and if you don't agree with something, or if something's not how you like it, to approach it obviously in a good way, but make sure that you are being honest, and honest with yourself as well as other people.
That's really hard, being taught something growing up and having to change your ways. So that's amazing.
I love that everything's going around core beliefs, your core So we love to dedicate every episode to either a charity, a small business, or an organization, and what better one to dedicate today to than to KoR Skin. So can you please tell our listeners how they can support you and where they can follow you, how they can find you, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So our website is KoRSkincare.com, and obviously you can find us on Instagram, which is KoR Skincare _.
Great, thank you so much for joining us. So we'd love to have you back when everything's booming, and hopefully you're in Australia or you've got your shop ready or something. I'm just so excited for you. But thank you so much for joining us, and to everyone listening, please make sure to go and check out the website, go and check out their Instagram. Please go and make sure you buy something, support these beautiful women, and thank you for listening. Please make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to stream on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll see you for our next episode. Bye.
Thank you so much.